Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fiberista Files. Today is Sunday, August 7th. I said another episode because I forgot to check what episode this was before I hit record, so I have no idea. You may have noticed that my settings have changed quite a bit from the last 30 episodes. My friend Justin has repaired my poor little broken laptop. I am now able again to record from my craft room. Of course, I'm moving in less than a month, so I won't be recording from here very often. But since the laptop's working, the webcam software was super easy to install, I thought, what the heck, I'll go back up in my craft room and record for today. So I hope you enjoy. Let's start with a week in review, shall we? It's been quite a busy week for me, and I just thought maybe I'd share it with you. All right. Monday, which was the day after I recorded last week, Monday I spent down on the coast, close to Katie from Knitting on the Flies area. I went to the Madomic Camp Fiber Retreat, which is a week-long fiber retreat. It's pretty cool. They've got a lot of classes. They teach spinning and weaving and different kinds of lace knitting and all kinds of really cool stuff. And on Monday, the 1st, I think it was, they actually did allow vendors in for just one day for the afternoon to come in and tempt their retreat participants. I always want to call them retreaters, to sort of have them there in case, you know, they wanted to purchase anything. It's very convenient for the people at the retreat because they just have to go to the big, it's like the mess hall, and they can shop at their heart's content. So I'd never done it before. I'd never been. And I wasn't really sure what to expect, especially after the coordinator told me there were only 19 people there. Now, it took me 2 hours and 10 minutes or so to get down there, and I had to drive down Route 220, which there aren't a lot of roads in Maine I haven't been down, but that particular route was one I hadn't driven before, and it was quite an interesting drive. There's a lot of places where that road does like a quick 180 or comes to a complete stop for no apparent reason whatsoever. It was quite an interesting drive, but I made it, and I got set up in like record time. I'm really thankful that I have almost no inventory because it would have been too much. They had one really big table, and I brought my littler table, and I threw a tablecloth over one of the totes. But I had almost no fiber and yarn, and I thought for sure that it wasn't going to go well. But I actually had a really good time. Everybody there was super pleasant. The coordinator, whose name is Casey, very nice and friendly, kept asking if I would stay for dinner, kept sending people over and encouraging people to shop. She actually bought a spindle and some fiber, and we had a little spin in. She tried 3 different spindles and knew by the 3rd spindle which one she wanted. It just clicked for her. So I was happy to help. It was a really good time. The dinner was pretty good except for the creamed kale. Turns out I still think of kale as a garnish and not really a food. The brownies, though, were fantastic. And the other good thing about doing the event was that I got to see my friend Karen from Village Books, which is right there in Washington. It's right in the same town. But I'll talk about her more in a little bit. So I had a good time. Highlights of that trip for me were there was an 11-year-old girl there. I think her name was Nadia. I taught her to spin. We had an impromptu spin-in the afternoon. She sat down and I showed her what the parts of the spindle were and how to make the fiber go. And man, she took to it like a duck to water. She was awesome. So we spun together for probably half an hour, 45 minutes before she and her mom decided to go outside and sit on the front deck. So that was Monday. I came home on Tuesday. I'd been waiting for a fiber order. It came at the end of last week, but on Tuesday I didn't get to deal with it. Wednesday I didn't get to deal with it. Thursday I finally got to deal with it, and I was able to dye a whole bunch on Thursday and Friday. It was actually really great because I got to dye up some new colorways, and I'll show you them in just a little bit, but it's been a long time since I've really come up with a mass quantity of new colorways. And really, dyeing the same colorways over and over again it's not boring, but it definitely doesn't motivate me to get to the dye pods. So having all these new colorways to test out and try was really motivating. And man, some of these colorways I cannot wait to show you. And I still have probably 4 colorways that I haven't dyed up yet because I need to order some dye. But I'll talk more about that when I get to dye pods. So I also did get my yarn on, I want to say it was Thursday or Friday, for the Trifecta of Awesome Yarn Club. It was delayed due to inclement weather. It was stuck in like Iowa or something for a couple of days, but I did get it. I think I got it on Friday. So I have my yarn, and I will be doing some test skein dyeing right off. I'm going to do just some 10-yard skeins and try a couple of different colors and see which one I like best for this particular fiber, and we'll be good to go. I'm wicked excited. I'm not excited for the amount of skeining that I'm going to have to do. Well, we'll get to that as we may, I guess. Man, I hate skeining. Even with the Crazy Monkey skein winder, the Crazy Monkey makes it so much easier and faster. It's electronic. It has a row counter, well, a round counter, which my rounds are 2 meters, or 2 yards, so I know how many times it has to go to make a skein of a specific yardage, but still. And then finally, on Saturday, Bartlett Yarns, which is a local spinning mill to me. I say local, it's about an hour away. It's probably the localist spinning mill that I have. They have their annual open house the first weekend in August. I freaking love them. I've been a fan of Bartlett Yarns for a while, but I hadn't purchased anything of theirs except some undyed wool roving. I've seen them at shows. They have a very rustic wool yarn, kind of similar to Peace Fleece. It's a little bit coarser than Peace Fleece, but I mean, it's classic wool, traditional wool. And Bartlett Yarns has the only mule spinner left in the United States. And a mule spinner is a type of spinning machinery that mimics the motions of hand spinners, where they pull the fiber out, add the twist, and then send the carriage back in, and it winds onto the bobbin. So it's a pretty cool system. It's apparently, I guess, not very efficient because modern spinning machines, when the trays come out and then go back in, they're actually spinning yarn and adding it to the bobbins in both directions. And with the mule spinner, it only adds it to the cone when it goes back in. So it does half the work. But this mill has been in operation since the 1800s. It's old, it's classic, it has a great history, it has a lot of the machinery is, I think that he said the newest machine they had was from the 1940s. One of the skein winder, which does 40 skeins of yarn at once, which is so cool, was from 1921, and I actually got to see the little plate with the name of the company that made it, and it was from 1921. It was really cool. Lindsay is the name of the owner, and he gave us a tour. He walked us all around. He turned on every machine to show us how every machine worked. He let me jump into the giant room of fiber. They do this thing where they take all the different fibers that they were doing. At that particular time, they were doing a wool and alpaca blend. So they had all the wool and all the alpaca, and they send it through this machine that takes out all the veggie matter, shoots the veggie matter in one direction, and then shoots the fiber into this giant room in the other direction. And it's a room. It's probably a 6x6 or 8x8 room. And he sees my face light up when I see all this lovely fiber, and he's like, "Why don't you go ahead and jump in there? Go jump." So I walked into the room, and I turned around, and I stuck my arms out completely straight, which I can't do here because of my cubbies, and just flew backwards. And it is the softest landing imaginable because there's so much fluff in there, but you totally disappear. It's so cool. And he totally was like, "No, go ahead, jump in the fiber." Anybody who will tell me to go jump in a room of fiber, like this. I had a really good time. My husband actually also had a really good time. He wasn't like all that enthused about going because God knows he's been to enough fiber events with me, but he actually really enjoyed all of the machinery and the history. He really likes local history and stuff like that. It was really neat. So we got to see all of that. Highlight for me, it was really funny. The highlight was the shop, but I'll get to that in a minute. They were talking about the machinery and how old it was, And they actually said that they had to raise up all of the equipment on the second floor, which is traditionally the floor where the women worked, the actual spinning machine and the skeiner and the plying, all that stuff, because the machines were built in the 1920s. And since the 1920s, women are actually much taller than they were back then. So they've had to take 4-inch wooden blocks and raise up all of the machines in that entire building because women are so much taller that it's physically uncomfortable to be hunched over these machines. And you know, you never think about what changes history has wrought until you see something like that where you're like, wow, I never would have thought of that. But that's totally a problem that you need to work out and fix. So I really just thought it was awesome. And of course, after we took the tour, we end up in the retail store. Now, you can buy everything that they have online, but there's just nothing like squishing it for yourself. And man, their prices are fantastic. They have ready-made stuff. They have sweaters and hats. These are really cute colorwork hats, actually, for $28, which is totally a reasonable price for a hand-knit hat, I think. They have worsted weight yarn and sport weight yarn. And then they have fiber. They have pencil roving. The pencil roving is where the yarn starts. Like their carders, they have all these machines that go through and they end up with 1/4-inch pencil roving. And from the pencil roving, they load the spinning machines. And that's what makes the yarn. So they sell the actual pencil roving. They also sell mill ends. They sell all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. And I bought a little bit of everything. I'm going to show you now. I'm not going to wait for grabby hands. I'm going to show you now what I bought. So my husband, first thing he did was said, I want a hat. Make me a hat. Pick 2 colors. Make me a hat. I said, you pick 2 colors, and I'll make you a hat. So he picked this classic sheep's wool gray and this beautiful midnight heathered blue. It looks a little bit less bright blue than you're seeing. It's a little bit more midnight. You can see this is a worsted. Now, mule spinning creates a very light and lofty yarn. Traditional worsted has got, what, 4 plies? This only has 2. And I'm not sure if you can see with my finger there. Oh, you can see the little end right here. This is just 2 plies of yarn, and they're spun together. It's very lofty, very smushy. I like it. So he's going to get a hat out of this. In fact, I'm going to start that tonight. I think I'm going to wind those into balls. All right, so I also bought a skein of worsted for myself. This was basically, they take all of the little bits and ends and stuff that they have left over, and they see what colors they can make. And there was only 1 skein of this. It's a true one-off. This is sort of just a blend of everything. Purples, reds, yellows, greens. It's a true sort of tweeny yarn. I love it. I love all the colors that it has in it. It's very much sort of, people buy souvenir yarn. This is kind of what it is. This is like my Bartlett Yarn Tour yarn. And that doesn't have a colorway name. And then I also bought a skein of sport weight yarn. Their sport weight yarn looks a lot like fingering weight yarn to me, but I know sport and fingering weight yarn are somewhat similar. So this is Scotia, I believe. I don't even remember how many ounces it is. I have to look on the website, but that's the thickness of the sport weight yarn. And all of their colors are sort of a heathered. They have dyed wool, and then they either add white or black wool as well to get the colors that they want. So this is Scotia. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but it's beautiful. Then I bought a bunch of mill ends. Their mill ends, they have sport weight mill ends for $14 a pound. A pound. A whole pound of yarn for $14. And I think mine was 1.1 pounds, so it's about $14, $15. The first one I got is, this looks red to you, it's totally wrong. This is flaming orange. This is hunter orange. This is that bright fluorescent orange that you get when you go to the woods, which color's not going to show up. That stinks. Those will either be gloves or mittens or socks or something for walking in the woods. Probably mittens. Maybe thrummed mittens? Could be. Okay. And then I sort of picked ones that I thought I could do color work with for the rest. So the first color work set of sport weight skeins that I got were these three. It's sort of an oatmeal color, that midnight blue, and this is, it looks purple, but it's actually like a brick red. So these three are, it's probably going to be a hat. Why not? Why not do color work hats and have all kinds if you can? I'm trying to find places to stash all this. And then this was the other set. This is a cream, a teal, the same, it's about the same teal as the one that, the sport weight skein that I bought. And then this one looks grapey purple, but it's really more fuchsia purple. My color is just not great today. But they all go together. And then I also have this fourth one that's a brick red. It's a little bit less maroon than the other one, so I don't know if that one quite goes. Kind of goes. I think it goes enough that I could use that with that one if I wanted a 4-color project. So, stick that right there. Okay. Then I got roving as well. Ooh, my hair's all frizzy. Hey, Leslie, do you have hair envy again this week? This is called take a shower and leave it in a bun for several hours. So roving, I bought 8 ounces of this round roving. This is in a bag. Let me pull some out for you. And then, again, this is a rustic wool, so it's not the softest stuff you'll ever find, but it's a lot of fun. And this is what it looks like basically when it comes off the carder before they pull it into pencil roving. This is called bracken. It's a bunch of greens and tans and some undyed. Looks like undergrowth. I have 8 ounces of that. I have no idea what that's going to be. Probably something very rustic indeed. I'm not going to try and go for a super smooth yarn on that. I'm going to let it sort of do its thing. I don't know. And then I also bought some pencil roving. I went specifically to buy pencil roving. The rest was all just bonus. And I walked away, by the way, from the cones of sport weight yarn. I really wanted a cone, but I didn't do it. Okay, I believe this is 4 ounces. This is pencil roving. And this is what they use to make their yarn from. Okay, it's very thin, very even, requires almost no drafting at all. You could draft it out, I suppose, and make a nice lace weight, which is probably what I'm going to attempt to do. We'll see. Everything's got kind of different staple lengths there. There's some undyed, some black, and some dyed blue as well. This colorway is mountain blue. It's a very royal blue. And then, because my friend Katie, who you may know as Knitting on the Fly, Jet Girl 1313, because Katie couldn't make it, she was going to fly into Dexter and we were going to pick her up, but there was fog everywhere. Stupid fog. So we couldn't do it, which stunk because I really wanted to be like, picking up my knitter friend, she's flying in on her own plane. I bought Katie this and I'll be sending it to her right off. Of course, you cannot see because I didn't open it. There's terrible glare. But this is that same pencil roving. But this color is Mountain Laurel. It's a beautiful true purple. And again, it's just very thin. Each strand is very, very thin. So it would be good practice for her and her wheel. And I got her a freebie pack of the brands as well. So that was my trip to Bartlett Yarns. Wasn't that exciting? I'm totally going back next year. I can't even wait. Like, I'm ready to go. And if at all possible, I'm going to go back to their shop again, too, after I knit all this up. I'm a teacher. I get weeks off at a time, so I can totally go down. All right, and then that's the last thing in the week in review is I got my apartment. I signed my lease. I have the keys. My husband came down with me this past week when we signed the lease. I think that was Tuesday afternoon. We took all the measurements of the apartment. He got to see it because he hadn't seen it before, so he was able to sort of take a peek and think about things. We talked a lot about where we're going to put stuff, placement. He agreed with me that the stove and the fridge have never been used. The rug has never been, I mean, this is brand, it's not a new building, but it used to be commercial. It used to be like offices. I think the landlord said that an osteopath or somebody used to live in or have the office in the place where I'm now living. He spotted a couple of problems that I didn't see. The shower door doesn't shut tight, and there was something else. Oh, there's no mirror above the sink in the bathroom. Like, it's just wall. I'm not sure what that's all about. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to put holes in the walls, put a mirror up, so I have to call and ask. But, yep. So, Highland Handmaids, barista files, all that will soon be operating from their satellite location on the coast. We'll see how that goes. I'm not really looking forward to being away from home and away from my husband and away from everything I know, but it's what's got to be done. The economy sucks. Job market sucks. You gotta go where the job is, so that's what I'm gonna do. I have here in my notes that the retail shop at Bartlett's is kryptonite. Okay. Knitting. Wow, I haven't even gotten to dye pots yet. I'm 25 minutes in. I've done this much knitting this week until yesterday. It just was kind of a crazy week, and things were going too fast for me, and my mojo has been kind of iffy. But I did get a few things done this week. I got the 4th dishcloth done, and I've decided that 4 is where it's going to be. I am simply not going to knit any more dishcloths at this time. She might get some more at Christmas time. She might not. She's got 4. The woman wears through her dishcloths. Like, she does not just say, oh, it's dirty, and throw it away. Like, it's got the ones that she have now, holes in them, and they're gray and gross. So I'm predicting that these 4 will last her quite a while. So hopefully she likes them. So there's those. I did knit another preemie beanie. This is just done out of some mystery sock yarn I've had in my stash forever. And it has a little bit of a harvest wheat cable going up it. It's kind of messed up and kind of hard to see with the self-striping, but that's what it is. And I did the decreases in such a way so as to allow that cable to travel almost all the way to the top. So, and I didn't do the I-cord top on this. I just cast it off. But so that's the 5th beanie to go with the other ones that I have right here. Sorry about the crinkling. I'm trying to keep them in a bag so that they don't get all dog hair and stuff, just for allergy reasons. Oh no, this is the 4th one I've done. I thought I did more than that. So here's 1. Here's 2. This one's got slip stitches. Here's 3. This one's a DK weight, so it's a little bit bigger. And here is 4. I'm probably going to do 5 or 6 before I kind of move on. We'll see. I want to do one out of that Reese's Pieces yarn that I got for my 30th birthday socks, because I think that would be cute. There's a pattern on Ravelry, and I'll try and find it and link it in the show notes, that is a sock scrap project similar to like the sock yarn blankets and stuff that you've seen before. But instead of knitting squares, they knit hexagons in the round and stuff them a little bit, so that when they attached all of the sock yarn squares together and made sort of a bedspread, it was like a fluffy, kind of a beehive pattern. It was super cute. So I forget who showed me that. I don't know if I favorited it or if I cued it. It is a paid pattern, but what a great idea. And in the pattern notes, it swears that it's easy to connect the squares, the hexagons together. We'll see. I might buy the pattern just to see how they do it, but I just thought it looked super cute, and maybe that's what I'll do with all my sock scraps. And if any scrap, really, because if you knit it out of worsted, same number of stitches and it's just bigger, I'm sure that they can tessellate in there so that they work out just right. So that's my plan. That's all I knit this week, except until yesterday, when I decided I was going to get the Ishbel done in time for the podcast. I've knit like a mad woman on this Ishbel, and it is done. I cast it off just before I recorded. It's not perfect. I printed this pattern, I think I cast it on July 2nd, maybe. So I printed this pattern out about a month ago. Didn't think anything of it. Now, I know I can't show you the whole thing, but here's what most of the charts look like. You can see slightly here, there's a dark teal line and a white line, and they have all of these little marks on them. If you look at chart D, which is the last chart that you do, you'll notice that this chart has a couple of directions right here, and then the rest of it is blank, except on the edges. So it says basically for rows 3, 5, and 7 to knit straight across. So that's what I did. And I kind of went, really? The picture, which is on the same page, shows these beautiful columns of eyelets going down the edge into points. And I thought, stockinette's not going to get me that. But I need to trust the pattern. You know, you're always told trust the pattern, trust the pattern. And thanks to Susan Pandorf's Even Star, I've learned trust the pattern. So I kept knitting. I got to like row 5 of that chart and went, maybe I should check the written directions. And sure enough, in the written directions, it doesn't say anywhere knit to the end. There's all kinds of slip one, knit two together, knit, slip stitch, slide, slip stitch over, PSSO, yarn overs, all kinds of stuff. There's an error in this pattern, and it's the entire chart D. And the entire chart D is screwed up. Now, I'm mad at myself for not checking first. I'm mad at myself for not trusting my instincts when I read that and went, really? Plain stockinette? I'm mad that I didn't double check then and just kept on knitting. But I'm also pretty irritated that I wasn't notified that there was an error. Now, I know that the error has been caught because when I went back today to check, the chart had been fixed. Everything is accurate now. Now, I realize that 10,000 people plus have knit this pattern. I realize that perhaps messaging them is an inconvenience. However, when Jared Flood changed some of his patterns to include examples knit out of Shelter, which is his new yarn, he messaged everybody who'd bought his patterns on Ravelry and said, hey, there's a new version of my pattern out, check it out or not. There's no errors in the pattern, but, you know, we knit it out of this new yarn, so on and so forth. I just downloaded the new version sight unseen. The Gire Soleil, which I'm never going to knit again, I just downloaded the new one. There are a couple others of his too. Would it have taken so much for Isolde to say, hey, there's a new version of Ishbel out, download it now? If she had done that up until this morning, I would have been fine. I would have caught the issue way before the pattern screwed me. I screwed myself. It's not just her fault. But I'm a little irritated that because I know Ravelry has the capability to do that, that you can message people who have downloaded your patterns. It irritates me that she changed the pattern, she fixed it, and she didn't notify anybody that she had fixed it or that there was a problem. Paper does not upgrade itself. I'm really trying not to be ranty and ugly. I'm a little ranty and I'm sorry about that. But I got irritated at that point, so I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm casting off. This is done. I've done enough, and I know. So instead of those nice eyelets, I have a curly edge of basic stockinette. I did throw a couple of eyelets down here on the very last row, just, I don't know if you can see those, just so that I can pull that into a point and I know sort of where the points are supposed to be. But this is my Ishbel. Ends are not woven in. Haven't done much with it. You can see the pattern a lot better from a distance than you can when you're actually knitting on it. So that's what the handspun looks like. See, it's kind of a hot mess now because it's not blocked. This is knit out of CJ Kopeck Creations Shetland top in the top hand colorway that I spun on my Kromsky Minstrel. It's a 2-ply, probably a DK weight. I have this much left over. I did the small size stockinette portion, and then I got through charts A and B and A again, and I realized that I had a lot of yarn left. So I did B and A again. So instead of doing A, B, A, C, D, E, I did A, B, A, B, A, C, D, E. So there's that. So it will be, it's going to have to be blocked the crap out of it because it's so stiff, but yeah, so that's what it will be eventually. It's going into timeout after it gets blocked. So there's that. So that got finished this week. Now, I printed off the pattern for the My Wish shawl by Laura Linneman. I am excited to knit this. I wound my Volmiza. It's not a very good picture of winding it, but there it looks better. This is Volmiza 80-20 Twin in the Young Mouse colorway. And I was trying to decide which yarn I wanted to go with it because it is a 2-color shawl. And I'm not doing this for Camp Loopy. I'm doing this because my friend Caitlin is getting her wish and I'm trying to support the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I was trying to decide which yarn would look better. Both of the ones on the side here are Enchanted Knoll. This one is their superwash sock. It is 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon, and it is a beautiful shade of navy blues and blacks and dark greens. This is, I have to look at the label. Its colorway is Blue Jay. It's Enchanted Knoll Farm Fairy Dust sock yarn, 75% merino, 20% nylon, and 5% sparkles. Same yardage, they both have 435 yards per skein. But I wasn't sure which one I liked better with the shawl. Originally, I was going to go these two. Then I decided that was kind of dark and dreary. So I think now nope. I think I've switched, and I think I'm going to go with these two now. I think that the sparkliness of this kind of reminds me of a wish too, so, you know, wishing on a star and all that. So I think it'll work. If not, too bad, I'm doing it anyway. I'm not allowed to cast on the My Wish shawl until I complete Chart C of Even Star. Chart 3. Steven's going to beat me if I do not get my butt in gear on that and get going, because he's already doing the decreases for the towers, and I'm just barely past those. I need to get Chart 3 done. If I don't get the edging started, that's fine. But I can't cast on until I get Chart 3 done. There's like 10 rows or something like that left. So that's the plan there. All right. 35 minutes in, need to get going. Dye pots. Dyes. I've been dyeing. I had 2 big days of dyeing. The first day I did a lot of yarn, and then the second day I did a lot of fiber. I still have several bases that I haven't touched yet. The silver maple sock, pin cherry lace, black cherry lace, the superwash merino bamboo nylon top. I haven't touched any of those. That's for this week. But there will be sugar maple sock, quite a bit of sugar maple sock, and some Polworth, some Texas Kid Mohair nylon merino blend, and a new merino base, which I will show you. All right, so let's start with fiber. I need a bucket to put these in, I guess. So they're gonna have to go on my lap, I guess. I did some katahdin. You've seen this colorway before. It's greens and grays. This is the one that Katie's doing on her spindle. She says the grays look purple to her. It's possible. Boy blue, also Polworth. Undyed areas, blues, and browns. It's not the same blue and brown as the last boy blue because I didn't write down which ones I used, and I'm still in the process of trying to figure out which ones I used at the time that it looked the best. My nose is shiny. Ooh. Texas Kid Mohair blend. I have 3 of the Maritime colorway, which you're having a hard time seeing, but it's a myrtle sea-ish green. And there are some large sections of a dark silvery gray as well. And some of the areas, like where the colors bled, are a little bit lighter. Just Before Dawn, I have 2 of these. One was a custom, so I have 2 of those. It's black, navy blue, soft blue, bright blue, and like a turquoise blue. There is a little bit of, I don't really want to say flecking, but when the blue takes up, there's all of these little areas that are left over. This is kind of pink. It's just the way the dye takes into the fiber. It just happens, especially around the black. It tends to bleed a little pink. And then I have 2 Texas Kid Mohair in Federal, which is that raspberry, slate bluish gray, and undyed areas. And I have a special magical little one called Dye Sop number 1. I didn't have any silk to catch some excess dye, so I used one of the Texas Kid Mohair blends. It's got a nice golden rich brown, silver gray, sky blue, and undyed areas. And there's a line in here somewhere in silver gray of silvery grayish green right here, I think. Just a thin little line from what I had left over from the katahdin. So I just poured all the excess dye that I had onto this particular skein, braid, what have you, and let the colors fall where they will. And actually it came out cute. It reminds me of like going horseback riding outside for some reason. I've horseback ridden like 3 times. Okay, and then I also have this. Now this is dyed in the Sherwood colorway, which is that golden brown, bright green, and a sort of a mousy brown, kind of a walnutty sort of brown. But you can barely see that because this fiber, I don't know if you can see right there, I'm going to sneeze. This fiber is a light brown merino. You can see it right here. That's the color. It's not an ecru or an undyed sort of pale cream colorway. It actually starts out at that light brown color, and then I add dyes to it. I started out with one that I knew the brown wouldn't act in contrast to it, but I'm going to get a little bit more crazy with the next several and see how I like it. If I don't like the way it takes the dye, then I will just offer it undyed. It's gorgeous. So soft. When I did the pre-soak, the color, the water that I pre-soaked it in did come away a little bit greasy looking. I'm not sure if that was the oil that they put on the fiber to help it slide through the machines, or if that was in fact lanolin left over. I'm not really sure. So you might want to test a little bit, soak it before you try it. It doesn't smell sheepy or anything. It just smells like the vinegar I use in my dye. But it's wicked soft. It's merino, people. This is non-superwash, so it will felt. I like it. I love the non-white fibers. I really enjoy them. Okay, on to yarn. This is a custom order. You can't have it, but this is Federal. It's that same slate blue and raspberry in yarn. I did a couple of Survivors, same custom order for the same person. You can't have that one either. This is Just Before Dawn, like I showed you in the Texas Kid Mohair, but this is it in yarn. Now, I did not reskein this, so you can't really see what it's going to look like reskeined. But it's the same black, navy blue, dusky blue, bright blue, and then there's a turquoisey teal color here. Relatively short color repeats. Let's see, that's another skein of Survivor. Okay. Oh, and I also did some Cherry Blossom, which you have seen before. I reskeined 2 and left 1 plain so that you could see what they look like. I think the reskeined ones look better, but reskeined and unreskeined. Pale pink, dark chocolatey brown, and then a raspberry rose. It's kind of a more of like a deep rose color. New colorways. I have 3 each of these. I'm just going to show you the one reskeined one and the one unreskeined one so that you can... There's 2 that are unreskeined and 1 that's reskeined. So depending on what time your order comes through and which skein I grab, you might get the reskeined one, you might not. They're all exactly the same. This is called Morning Mist. It is dyed in cream, sandy gold, an oceany green, an oceany blue, and the blue and the green travel up through into this charcoal gray color. This is what it looks like reskeined. I'm hoping that will focus for you. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Morning Mist is that one. Waiting Room is the next one. This is Waiting Room. Starts out with a bright but rusty orange. Has some undyed areas right there at the tip. Goes into some more cream here. A sort of a nautical sea-ish sort of blue. And then the same thing. Oh, it has a little bit of brown in there. And then that same charcoal gray. Here's what it looks like reskeined. I think these would be great socks for a guy. I think it looks awesome. Not colors I normally dye together. I will explain to you how I got the ideas for these in just a minute. They're a lot of fun. This one is called New Suit. Cream, mustardy yellow, silver, periwinkle, and charcoal gray. And here's what it looks like reskeined. I have a suit in this silver and periwinkle blue blend here, and I got mustard on it. True story. New suit, mustard. That's all I have to say about that. I really like the new suit. This is probably my second favorite of the ones that I dyed. Now my favorite, I told you last week that I am dyeing the official yarn of the 2011 Podcaster Challenge. Now, I happen to know what the technique is that y'all are doing, and I've been sworn to secrecy, so don't ask. And I don't know that that had anything to do with the way I dyed this yarn. In fact, I know it didn't, because I saw these colors, and I went, that's it. That's the yarn. I started out with the logo for the Podcaster Challenge and used that as a jumping off point and just went crazy. The whole point of the Podcaster Challenge is to have fun. I think that this skein of yarn screams fun. You might not like it. You don't have to buy it. But I'm telling you what, I love this yarn. This is the official yarn of the Podcaster Challenge, and every one of them is upside down. That was a great reveal. So here's the yarn. It starts out with, it looks grapier to you, but this is a floxy sort of purple. Goes into a bright green, then a golden yellow, orangey yellow, and then a darker sort of tiger lily orange. And there are a few lighter spaces interspersed throughout. This is what it looks like re-skeined. Tell me that that yarn is not a screaming good time. I love this yarn. I love it. I hate, it sounds so conceited to say I'm thrilled with myself, but that yarn makes me really happy. I dyed up just those 3 test skeins. So, you know what? I'm dying. I need to put my hair up or something. I'll just pull it over her shoulder. Yeah, it looks terrible. Go back to the other way and just sweat it out. Where was I? I dyed up just those 3 test skeins in the sugar maple sock yarn, which is 75% wool, 25% nylon. Superwash wool, 25% nylon. Those 3 will be available in the shop as part of the Podcaster Challenge. Now, I also have 2 copies of the Mother Bear Bear pattern that as the bonus knit along for people to participate in. So you can get an extra chance to participate in a knit along that way. I know Mama Needs Yarn already has a thread in her Ravelry group, and I'm sure a couple other podcasters do by now also. If you request it in your comments to the seller, and you're one of the first 2, when you buy the Podcaster Challenge yarn, I will send you that copy of the pattern. I have 2 copies of the pattern. You do not have to knit the bear out of the yarn. They're unrelated. But as a thank you for doing the yarn, Lois sent me 2 copies of the pattern. So if you buy the Podcaster Challenge colorway, and this colorway is called Challenging, and it has an asterisk there because it says it's the official yarn of the 2011 Podcaster Challenge. Buy this, ask me for the pattern, I'll send the pattern and the yarn to you. Okay? Those Mother Bear patterns you do have to buy and get physically snail mailed to you. They're not available on the internet. So this way you don't have to wait. I'll just send it to you. And I'm known for my fast shipping, with the exception of the order that I totally botched this week and forgot to send out. So, yeah. I will be dyeing that in more bases as soon as I receive them. I do not have any plans to dye it up in lace because highly variegated lace does not necessarily work well with projects. If you want one, let me know and I'll dye one up for you. But I do plan on offering it in bulky weight yarn as well as worsted weight yarn. So if you want to use the Podcaster Challenge official yarn called Challenging as part of your Podcaster Challenge, or if you're a fan of a podcaster and you want to use it to knit along or whatever, I will be offering that probably not next week, but the week after. I hope to do it in August before the challenge begins so that you can get it if you do choose to knit along with your podcasters. So, and I'll be dyeing that this week in the silver maple sock. So if you'd like to wait for the silver maple sock, you may. Okay, there's bugs in here. Sorry. That's it for dye pots. Processes. I told you before that I had a very interesting, not an issue, but I was just sort of burnt out on the colorways that I had been dyeing. I wasn't really sure what I was going to dye. And I think that was why it took me a couple days to dye this week. Then I remembered this wonderful site called cooler.adobe.com, and I will link that in the show notes. I am slowly but surely catching up on show notes. Cooler.adobe.com is a site where people choose up to 5 colors for a sort of a palette of basically a colorway that match in terms of balance and hue, and they do all the hard work figuring out what colors work well together. And then they post them, and you can rate them, you can leave comments on them, you can do all that. Really, it's like picking colorways, and the work's all done for you. There's nothing copyrighted, they're just colors. If you go to the site, I believe this challenging yarn, with a couple of small changes, is the color that's on the top, the highest rated one. I had already picked the orange and the yellow to go with the colorway, and then they were the ones that gave me the idea of the floxy purple, and I added this particular shade of green. So I use cooler.adobe.com every once in a great while to sort of, I look at the 5 colors, and then I go through my color cards and say, which dye does that resemble? Which dye does this resemble? If I blended these two, I'd probably get that one. And then I make the actual colorway card right then. And I write out which dyes I'm going to use and draw the little skein and show you which order I'm going to put it in. I do all that work right then. It was awesome. It was so, like, just very easy, very quick, and really got my dyeing juices flowing. That sounds dirty. I'm not going to say that again. Yeah, growth. I just contacted a Massachusetts fiber show for a possible 2012 venue. I heard about it on the Knit One Heart 2 podcast. It's called the Massachusetts Fiber Revival. I know it's called Fiber Revival. I'm not sure if the Massachusetts name's in there or not, but it is in Mass. And there are 2 other main vendors that participate, both Enchanted Knoll Farms and Spunky Eclectic, both vend at this event. And I don't know if they both teach classes. I know that they both have taught classes themselves at other venues, so I imagine they must be teaching as well. But I'd never heard of it until Wendy and Sheila talked about it, so I went and clicked it and checked it out, and I really, I like the look and feel of it. So I emailed them and asked them if I could participate next year, so we'll see where that goes. I'm also on tenterhooks waiting for the 2012 New England Textile Association Spa event, which takes place in February in Maine. I missed the deadline last year to get my application in, but I'm hoping to do it this year. The deadline is usually like September 1st. So I'm on the Ravelry group and on their website constantly just waiting for the application to come out so that I can apply for that. So hopefully in February I'll be down in Freeport at the spa event. I went there last year as a consumer and had a really good time. So I'm hoping to vend it this year. All right, growth, grab your hands. I was going to do a review of the 2 other magazines that I bought last week from Borders, the newest Knit Scene and the newest Interweave Knits Weekend. I'm going to save those. That was a really loud noise, sorry. I'm going to save those for next time. All right, I did get in the mail from Domesticated Darling, who is Kate. She has the Domesticated Darling podcast. This project bag. This is what I was keeping my Ishbel in. I freaking love it. First of all, I love that the bottom of the bag is vaguely oval shaped because it stands up on its own really nicely. Secondly, look at the pattern. Skulls and bones and anchors. Very piratey. The drawstring is really great. This is a big bag. This is not a small bag by any means. This is what I'll be keeping the My Wish shawl in when I get started. It has pockets in it, and it's fully lined. It has pockets in it and whatnot. The weight of this bag is great. It isn't heavy, but it's definitely, it doesn't blow away in the breeze either. It's got a really good weight to it. All the seams are covered and everything. It's got a nice, good, like, shoestring, drawstring. I really like this bag a lot. So, Katie, thank you very much for sending that out to me. When I saw the fabric that she had for it, I asked for a custom bag immediately because I loved the fabric. But it turns out I love the whole bag. So, and I also like that it is tall enough to put your entire pattern in there, and it fits just right inside. So I can put the pattern in there without having to fold it. I hate folding patterns that have that I've been putting that plastic to protect it because it drives me insane. So I have 2 skeins of yarn in there. Those 2, and it only goes up to here. Those 2 skeins of yarn stacked together. Awesome. I love it. Thanks, Katie. The other thing I got, I don't know if you noticed that I'm wearing earrings this week. I don't think you can see what they are. There we go. It's a spinning wheel on a little French hook earring. I got these from my friend Karen, and she owns Village Books, and I will link her shop in the show notes. She only had, I think, 2 pairs of these left, and I bought 1, so she might have 1 left, but I know she said she had more of these charms. And she can make you stitch markers out of them. She could make you, that's not going to go back in at all. She can make stitch markers, she can make earrings or a pendant or whatever. These earrings cost me $8. Ow. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'll just take the other one up. There's nothing wrong with the earrings. My ears just don't like them very much. But they're cute little, they're not too big. They're little spinning wheels, and they were $8. Definitely check her out. If you email Karen and let her know that you'd like a pair, I'm sure she can work that out with you. And if you tell her you came from me, that will make her very happy. So tell her that I sent you, and maybe I'll get free stuff. She, in addition to owning her used bookstore, which, by the way, specializes in used knitting and spinning books, she also has locally grown and processed fibers that she actually hand processes herself. She does the hand carding and all that her very own self. She uses Maine dyes, so she's all very local and local source. So definitely check out Karen from Village Books. Okay, I'm at 58 minutes again. Good thing I'm so interesting. That is all I have this week. Next week will be a short episode. No, wait, I don't want to cross my fingers, right? Scout's honor? Promise. That next week will be a shorter episode. If you've stuck around with me this long, guys, I really appreciate it. If you want to find me, I am Boutros Babe, BOUTROSBABE, on Ravelry and Plurk. I am Fiberista Files and Intention Yarns on Twitter. We have a Ravelry group called Highland Handmaids. Check us out. Join the group. Show off your finished objects. Somebody just posted some hand-spun socks that are gorgeous. I use that word too much, but they are. And always, you can visit the shop at shop.highlandhandmaids.com. So until next week, guys, thanks for tuning in. Oh, wait, I said that backwards. Until next week, guys, happy spinning and knitting, and thanks for tuning in.